The morning sun filtered gently through the flower shop's wide windows in Saint-Michel-sur-Loire. The scent of peonies and jasmine filled the air as Luna adjusted a bouquet near the front display. Everything looked calm, but inside, she felt something shifting. Anna walked in from the back room with an envelope in hand, cream-colored with gold lettering. "It's for you," she said, tilting her head. "From Paris." Luna wiped her hands on her apron and opened it carefully. Inside was a printed invitation to a prestigious floral design program in Paris, an intensive 2-month course, limited seats, admission by recommendation only. Her heart skipped a beat. Paris again. Just when she had begun to feel rooted, she clutched the letter in silence, still unsure of what it meant. That afternoon, Théo arrived at the shop. He smiled, as always, and offered to help her move some large ceramic planters that had just been delivered. They worked in sync, almost without speaking. While they lifted one of the heavier vases together, his phone buzzed. On the wooden counter, the screen lit up for a moment. Julienne. "Still listen to that song from our apartment." Luna froze. She hadn't meant to look, but the message burned its way into her thoughts. "Who's Julienne?" she asked, voice steady but low. Théo paused. "Someone from the past," he replied too quickly. "She seems to think your past is still present." He avoided her gaze. "Let's talk later," he said. "Not here." Luna nodded, but the moment had already carved itself into her. Shortly after he left, the shop bell rang again. A familiar face stepped inside, an older woman, elegant and talkative. She glanced toward the door and smiled. "Was that Théo? I remember when he and Julienne were engaged. It was the talk of the town. 2 traditional families, the perfect match. What a shame it didn't work out." Luna forced a polite smile. Her hands were trembling under the counter. That evening, she sat at her small desk and opened her laptop. The words on the screen came easily. "I accept the invitation. I will be in Paris next week." Then she wrote to Théo. "I'm going to Paris. 2 months. Please don't come after me. This isn't just about you. It's about me." The journal on her nightstand remained closed, but somehow she didn't need it to tell her anything. Not this time. She was going for herself. Paris was everything the postcards promised. And yet, it was nothing like she had imagined it would feel. The streets buzzed with elegance. The cafes were poetic. The windows overflowed with flowers that looked almost too perfect. But none of it held. The apartment where Luna was staying was small and well kept, with old wooden floors and a window that overlooked a quiet street. She unpacked slowly, arranging her clothes in silence, trying to convince herself this would feel like home. The course began the next morning. World-class instructors, talented classmates, a rhythm fast enough to make anyone lose their breath. Luna smiled through it. Took notes, listened, but the feeling of not belonging crept into every pause between conversations at night. She sipped tea while staring out the window. The lights in other apartments flickered like tiny stories she wasn't part of. The journal sat untouched on her nightstand, closed, silent. Then one evening, as she scrolled through her phone for distraction, a post made her stop cold. It was a photo, Théo, at an elegant event wearing a dark suit, standing beside Julienne. Both smiling, in the background, unmistakable as ever, was Geneviève, holding a glass of wine, looking entirely in control. Luna dropped the phone on the bed. The image blurred, but it was already etched in her memory. She pulled the blanket around her shoulders, as if it could protect her from a truth too familiar. She had always been the outsider. Later that night, as tears threatened to spill again, she reached for the journal, almost afraid it would be blank again. But this time there was something there. Trust what you know about yourself. Destiny doesn't bend for fear, it bows to courage. Her throat tightened, but the tears came without shame. She wasn't crying over Théo anymore. She was crying for all the parts of herself she had buried just to be chosen. Back in Saint-Michel-sur-Loire, the flower shop felt quieter than usual. Even the roses seemed to wilt faster. Anna was doing her best to keep things running. But Luna's absence hung in the air like a closed door that no one dared to open one grey morning. Geneviève walked in, impeccably dressed, as always. Her perfume arrived a second before she did. She looked around the shop with slow appreciation, as if revisiting a place that had once failed to meet her standards. "Good morning, Anna," she said in a voice laced with elegance. "I need a floral arrangement for the art gallery soirée. Julien will be there. It should be refined." Anna kept her smile polite. Her hands moved with practiced precision, but her mind was already alert. Geneviève strolled slowly past the orchids and hydrangeas. "Luna had charm," she said casually, "but sometimes charm fades, especially when there's too much emotion and too little composure." Anna didn't respond. "Théo needs someone who helps him rise," Geneviève continued. "Not someone who holds him back with doubts and drama." Still no answer, but Anna's grip on the scissors tightened slightly. "Julien is everything Luna is not," she said with finality. "Polished, calm, balanced. A woman ready to stand beside a man like Théo." Anna raised her eyes. "Calm, but direct. Love isn't about symmetry, it's about truth, and I think Luna loved him more honestly than anyone ever dared." Geneviève smiled tightly, took her bouquet, and left. The scent of lilies lingered long after she'd gone. Anna stood still for a moment, then reached for her phone. She didn't dial yet, but she knew some truths were done waiting. The evening at Geneviève's home was perfectly orchestrated. Soft lighting strings playing in the background, champagne glasses clinking with polite laughter. Julien moved through the crowd with practiced grace. Her dress elegant, her smile composed, everything about her whispered tradition and approval. Théo stood near the edge of the room, a drink in hand, but not a trace of ease on his face. He had agreed to come out of obligation, a gesture of respect. But every word exchanged around him felt like it belonged to someone else's life. Geneviève appeared beside him, like a shadow. "You look wonderful tonight," she said. "Everyone is saying how well you and Julien fit together." He didn't answer, just sipped from his glass. "She's stable, grounded," Geneviève added. "A woman who reflects the future we envisioned for you." He looked at her. "Finally. And Luna?" he asked softly. Geneviève gave a half smile. "Luna was a chapter. Julien is the book." Later that night, Théo stepped outside for air. In the cool quiet of the garden, he found Anna arranging a last-minute delivery of centerpieces. She turned, surprised to see him. "Didn't expect to see you here," she said gently. "I didn't expect to stay this long," he admitted. Anna put down the ribbon in her hand. "Do you know what Luna went through before she left?" He shook his head, but something in his expression shifted. "She saw a message from Julien on your phone," Anna said. "And then a customer came in and told her about your engagement, your perfect families. The wedding that should have happened." Théo's chest tightened, his hands dropped to his sides. "Why didn't she tell me?" he asked. Anna met his eyes. "Maybe she thought she didn't need to. Maybe she was waiting to see if you'd come after her on your own." He looked down, then slowly nodded. Anna stepped forward. "She didn't leave because she didn't love you. She left because she thought no one else would fight for her." Silence settled between them, and in that moment, Théo realized what he had to do. Théo left the gathering before dessert was served. He couldn't take another smile that meant nothing, another toast raised to a future he no longer recognized. The weight of Anna's words followed him down the stone steps of his mother's estate. He walked for blocks, the night quiet around him, the stars half hidden behind thin clouds. Eventually, he found himself sitting on a cold bench in the town square alone, breathing heavily as if he'd been running, though he hadn't moved fast enough when it mattered. From his coat pocket, he pulled out a folded envelope, worn, slightly torn at the edges. It was the letter he had written the night Luna left, a letter filled with everything he should have said before it was too late. But he had never given it to her, had never chased after her until now. He looked up at the sky. It felt heavier than usual, like it, too, carried a silence that had lasted too long. He didn't sleep that night. Instead, he checked into a small hotel near the train station. And at sunrise, as the golden light stretched across the cobblestones, he packed a bag, no plans, no rehearsals, just his heart, the letter and the truth. Before leaving town, he sent a single message to Geneviève. "You may not understand now, but I'm going after what's real. Don't wait up." And with that, he boarded the train to Paris. The day of the final exhibition had arrived. The flower studio in Paris was filled with soft light and quiet voices. Students made final adjustments to their arrangements. In the center of the room stood Luna's creation, a composition of delicate whites with accents of burnt orange and lavender, and in the middle, a single blue bloom, subtle, lonely. But holding everything together, Luna stood a few steps back, arms crossed. She didn't know what her piece meant, not fully, but it felt honest, and that was enough. Then she heard the voice, low, unmistakable, still carrying something fragile. "You've always known how to speak through silence, but this time it almost destroyed me." She turned. Théo stood at the entrance, tired eyes, no suit, no performance, just him. She didn't move, didn't blink. "What are you doing here?" she asked, barely above a whisper. He walked forward slowly, then stopped, a few feet from her. "I came to fix what I let break." From his coat, he pulled the old envelope, held it out to her. "I wrote this before you left, didn't send it, didn't chase you, and I've regretted it every day since." She took the letter, but didn't open it. "Not yet." "I saw the photo," she said quietly. "You and Julien smiling like I'd never existed." He shook his head. "That was a staged evening, my mother's idea, not mine. I was just numb." Luna blinked back something she wasn't ready to feel. "You let me think I wasn't enough. Because I was afraid of hurting her, of disappointing my family, of failing you." He stepped closer, his voice now soft, steady. "But I'm here now, and I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm asking for a chance, a real one." She looked at him, really looked. Not the man she met no pasado, but the one who showed up unannounced because she mattered. She didn't speak, but she reached for his hand, and he took it, with both of his as if it were the most precious thing in the world. Paris felt warmer after that night, not because the weather had changed, but because something inside Luna had. For the first time in weeks, she breathed without weight. She and Théo didn't talk about the future. They didn't plan or define anything. They just stayed. They spent the next few days walking through gardens and museums, drinking coffee on small balconies, reading each other's silences. In Montmartre, they checked into a quiet hotel with white sheets and a view of the rooftops. The room smelled of fresh linen and autumn leaves drifting through the open window. It wasn't a honeymoon, not officially, but it felt like one. Because neither of them was pretending anymore, one morning, Luna sat by the window with the journal open on her lap. Blank pages. For the first time, they didn't scare her. She closed it gently and placed it. Aside, Théo came out of the bathroom with damp hair and a soft towel around his shoulders. He saw her smile, not a wide one, but true, the kind that reached the eyes slowly. He lay beside her without saying a word, just reached out and held her. "Nurhan, how are you feeling now?" he asked, watching her closely. She turned to him. "Like I don't need anyone to tell me who I am anymore, but I still want you here to remind me sometimes." That night, they made love quietly, without urgency, without fear. It wasn't about forgetting the past. It was about honoring the journey that brought them back. They didn't speak of forever, but in that room, in those hours, forever felt possible. Their last morning in Paris was crisp and quiet, the sky painted with soft streaks of gold and silver. Luna sat on the windowsill with a cup of tea, watching the city stretch awake. The journal rested on her lap, closed, but she didn't need to open. She already knew what it would say. Théo appeared behind her, his voice gentle. I've been thinking about us, and I know we don't need labels or ceremonies, but I also know I don't want to live another version of life where you're not beside me. He knelt down, slowly, pulled a small box from his coat. Inside, a simple ring, elegant, subtle, real. I'm not asking for perfect, I'm asking for real. Will you marry me? Luna blinked. Tears welled up but didn't fall. She smiled softly. Yes, but let's do it our way, quietly, honestly. Back in Saint-Michel-sur-Loire, Luna returned to her house, a modest, warm place filled with the scent of eucalyptus and old wood. A few days later, Théo arrived with boxes. No announcement, no ceremony, just commitment. As he placed a final box near the door, a familiar car pulled up on the street. Geneviève stepped out, impeccably dressed, poised as ever. She looked at the house, then at the two of them standing at the entrance. So it's true, she said. You're really moving in here. Théo met her gaze without hesitation. Yes, this is where I belong now with her, not because it's easy, but because it's mine. Geneviève didn't answer. She simply turned and returned to her car, silence trailing behind her like perfume that... Evening. Luna reopened the journal for the last time. On the final page, she wrote, "It wasn't love that saved me. It was choosing to love myself first. And that's why love came without fear and stayed." She closed the book, not because the story was over, but because now she was ready to live the rest of it, no longer on paper, but in full color, day by day, with roots and wings. And so Luna's story comes to an end. Or maybe it's just the beginning. Would you like to see more of this story? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. If this journey touched your heart, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes in second chances. There are many more stories waiting for you here. Stories of love, growth, and the quiet strength of those who choose themselves. See you in the next one.